Hi guys, well I'm going to start with an apology. I know I haven't been on the blog a lot for the last 2-3 months. I really do apologise for that. There's been loads of stuff that I've been doing on Preston Innovations page and in the mags and all the rest of it. So I hope you've been keeping up to date with all of that. However, I really did want to bring the blog back. I know how important it is. I know you guys love to watch it. So I want to talk to you about my fishing. So that's what I'm going to do. Basically, I thought there's no better place to start than the World Club Champs. Now, I've just been there with Drennan Barnsley Blacks. Just to put this into perspective, the World Club Champs, that was the team event I was absolutely desperate to win. I knew that we could have a great chance of winning. I knew that we've been before and we've had chances, but it's always eluded us. And last year, Daiwa Dorking did what most people thought wasn't possible, and they won the World Club Champs. The first time in 30 years that a team had won the World Club Champs. I think it was 1983 the last time that the competition was won by an English team. That tells you how hard it is. I was over the moon for them, and I've praised them before on what was a great result. Now it was our turn. I was really up for it. The team were really up for it. We've got some fantastic members in the team, and I knew that we could do it if we got the right sort of approach and right sort of enthusiasm and really practice properly. I knew that we had the anglers capable of doing it. So the canal where it was in France at a place called St. Quentin. Now, I didn't know, the best way to describe this venue is probably like the Steynie, but mixed with the Gloucester Canal. There's lots of skimmers in it. It had a nice colour to it, but it was a bit shallower, a bit like the Steynie. There was 3 sections that were relatively narrow, around 25 to 30 metres, and then there was 2 bits that were over 50 metres wide. So we had to try and find out what was best in the 2 separate sections. Now, one thing that was really interesting was when we got there was loads of fish. There really was loads of fish to catch. In fact, over 7 or 8 days that I fished on the venue, I had a bite pretty much every single put-in for the whole time I was there. So when you go to venues like that and there's loads of bites, the key has got to be trying to figure out how to catch the better fish and how to manage your peg the best you can to get the best weight out of it. So that's what we set about trying to do. Now, I really did enjoy it because, yes, like I said, you could sit and fish for roach. I actually had another session fishing for bleak. I've had sessions fishing for skimmers. And throughout the week, we were building a picture all the time. The team, which consisted of myself, Matt Godfrey, Alan Scotthorne, James Dent, Sam Wildsmith and Frankie Giancelli, is really strong. Some great anglers there, and we were working together really well. We had some great support with Captain Glenn Lawrence. Sandra Scotthorne was there. Didier Delanois and Baptiste Courtois came and helped us, which was really important to us. Having them there, international guys who live in France, who are great friends of the team and always have been, were really helpful. We also had guys come out for the weekend like Gav Liversedge and Oliver Scotthorne. They came and helped as well, and really it was just a massive team effort. The squad at the moment is absolutely and utterly buzzing, and I can't move on from that without talking about Dennis White. Dennis White came with us for the entire week. He's been on all 4 that I've been on, and I think I'm right in saying he's been on all 7 that Drennan Barnsley have been on, or 8 that Drennan Barnsley have been on, should I say, over the last 25-30 years. And I know how much it meant to Dennis to try and win this event. And I had him in the van with myself and Frankie all week, and he was absolutely brilliant. He switched on, he knows what's going on, he can spot things, and it really does help having anglers of his experience on the bank. So you can see when I start talking about it, how much everybody in the team comes together, brings themselves together, and they really do work hard. And that's what's happened this week. So that was all going well. Everything was looking good, and it was looking like we had a chance. The thing was, had we got the tactics right? Let's talk a little bit about the tactics. First of all, the roach. We had to try and think about a line for roach, or maybe 2 lines for roach. I felt these were bankers for team points. If you could catch the roach, you could avoid a blowout. It was 24 peg sections, so anything below halfway is probably disappointing in terms of your team result, but you're always going to get the chance of that happening because it's not fair. You're always going to get good bits and bad bits, so that can happen to absolutely anyone. There's no sort of limit or line on who that can happen to. So what we had to do was try and avoid that as much as we possibly could. So what we set out a plan was a plan to fish for roach. Now with the roach, we felt it was really important. We had a brilliant backing from Census, so we used Census Gross Gardons, we used Census Brown Crumb, and we used Census Super Canal Black. Those 3 ground baits mixed in pretty much equal quantities made a fantastic mix that we could use to catch our fish. Also, along with that, we also knew that we needed to use a mix for skimmers. Now, when you're fishing long for skimmers, you like to have a slightly different approach. We didn't want to actually attract too many roach to that skimmer line, so we went for a more lake style ground bait. I also do like that Super Canal Black in there, so that did help darken the mix off a little bit. But those are the 2 ground baits for our 2 lines. We also then used Tear the Somme and Tear the River on both lines to try and figure out how best the fish wanted it. Especially on that long line, Tear the Somme was really good, mixed with a ground bait, and it just meant that a lot of lean would keep those bream for a long time. So that was one of our plans as well. We figured out throughout the week it was predominantly a bloodworm and joker match. We couldn't really catch on other baits, although pinkies seemed to be okay for roach, and maggots and casters seemed to be okay on the long line. So we would implement a few of them on each line, but predominantly it was always going to be bloodworm and joker. On these matches, obviously as bait goes in throughout the week, the fish really do get used to bloodworm and joker, so they really do enjoy it and enjoy eating it at that. So then it was how we had to got the plan: 13 metres and a slider in the wider bits, and then anything from 4 to 9 metres on the rest of the canal. And you had to decide that. As the angler, you had to decide what the best line was for roach, because there was a lot of differences in pegs. Sometimes, for example, you'd have, say, 8 foot right under your feet, so a line for roach there was a possibility. Sometimes it was 2 or 3 feet deep there, you knew you weren't going to catch any small fish. So you had to manage your peg to try and get the best out of it, which is the sort of fishing that I love. And personally, I think my team really thrives on, because there's some great anglers and they can work their pegs out really well. On the day of the match, I drew D section, which was the wide section. Now, I really did enjoy it there. The problem with D section was there was skimmers and there was areas where there wasn't. So you knew that you were going to have to put skimmers into your plan. Now, as it happened, on the day of the match, it became very apparent very quickly that all of my section was throwing up some skimmers. The bottom end, the first 3 or 4 pegs, sort of 20 onwards, they were throwing up a lot of skimmers. So it's just about how I could manage my peg and try and get the best out of it. I ended up roach fishing for around 50 minutes, nicked a couple of bream, then, well, I say bream, they're more like sort of 800 grams, just 2 poundish sort of fish. Came back, caught some more roach, managed another skimmer on the long pole, and I just balanced it all day. I ended up with 8 bonus fish on the long pole and about 70 roach on the 2 roach lines. Some areas the roach was small, but in this area the roach were good fish, so you could actually be a little bit more patient and fish for the better fish. So those 70 roach really did top my catch up. At the end, I was over the moon away, just short of 8 kilos, I think, or maybe, yeah, about 7 kilos, 980, something like that, which is a lovely day's fishing. It's sort of 17, 18 pound in English money, and you know, what a great day's fishing on a canal. I can tell you now, it's nerve-wracking when you're playing some of those fish, some of those bigger fish. I absolutely love it, to be honest. When I was a lot younger, used to find situations like that uncomfortable and you'd be nervous. But now, you just got to learn to try and enjoy them. I'm sure you've all been in big matches, your own big matches, where you know fish count. Enjoy the moment. That's all you can do, because they don't come along very often. So once I had them in the net, I was absolutely over the moon. I think that put us in a great position, because when we came back in 24 peg sections, we had a second for myself, which I was absolutely over the moon about, 2 6s and 2 7s. So a lowest result of 7 in 24 peg section. So immediately I knew we were going to have a chance. Yeah, we didn't have 2 or 3 section winners, but that's not what team fishing's all about. Team fishing is about balancing your peg to get the best from it for your team. And that's what I felt all the lads had done absolutely and utterly brilliantly. I always knew that it was going to be tight, and Finland were the surprise package. Now, Finland don't always figure well in championships, but sometimes they do. And this one that was really suiting them, they were telling me that they've got a canal at home, very similar, and they fished out and out for skimmers everywhere. So they had, I think they had 2 section winners and a second, and then 2 around sort of 10th, 11th place, which gave them also 28 points. The Italians were on 32 and France are back on 43. So it was a great first day result for us being joint winners on the day. That meant going into the next day, we could only stick with the same plan. For a start, I had to be sure I didn't want us all going gung-ho for bream. We knew Finland were going to do that, and if they'd have all caught bream, they'd have won it by a mile. Fortunately for us, it started to unfold that not all of their anglers were catching bream, and our plan was going really well. We had some great performances once again. James Dent and Matt Godfrey both came second in the section on the second day. Great result in 24. Sam Wildsmith was in a terrible bit of his section. He was peg of 3, I think, and you really did, in the D section where I'd been the day before, and it was completely the wrong aim for the skimmers. But he caught the roach when we needed him to, and he finished 14th in his section. Alan Scotland had the same. He was in the middle of the bit, which had been terrible the day before. They really had struggled and scored big points, and Alan was 9th in his 24. This is what team fishing is all about. Getting those results in those hard bits. That's where you win team matches. Myself, I had a lovely day's fishing. I had 160 roach. I drew section B, which was out and out roach fishing for me. There was always going to be odd skimmers. There was always going to be an odd bonus roach, but I felt they were too unpredictable. Head down, put as many fish in the net as possible, and I knew unless something weird happened, it was going to be a top 5. It was 3rd place. I had 3 kilos and 80 grams. There was 2 3 kilo 300s. One was on the MPEG, and the French angler caught some roach and a couple of bonus skimmers, I've heard. So that was nice for him to go with his fish, and they both picked me. But that didn't matter to me. The results came through and we'd won it. As you've probably seen on Facebook and all the other places, we did win the competition. We had 58 points. Finland was second with 70, and France were third with 72 or 3. To be honest, it was the greatest moment in my fishing career to date. That's not an understatement or an overstatement. That is just the facts. Something that I've desperately, desperately wanted. The team have wanted. I know that it was the one missing thing from Alan Scotland's fantastic CV. And to be part of that team that achieved that was something that will stay with me forever. I will never, ever, ever forget this weekend. It was incredible. It was just absolutely amazing. The guys were great. These are some of my best friends I'll ever have. So to do that in that situation at the highest level, this is the Champions League of angling. It really is an incredible standard at these matches. So to win it was just absolutely fantastic. And I really, really can't say thank you enough to everybody who took the time to message us, everybody who took the time to congratulate us. We really are grateful. I really am grateful, so thank you very much. It was absolutely incredible. Like I've said, those are the tactics we used. Roach fishing, skimmer fishing, bit of slider fishing. The venue had it all. It had bites and everything. I really, really, really hope that we get a chance to go again. It's been absolutely fantastic. I did see, while we were away, that the Angling Trust have changed the qualifying process to a sort of international style fish off rather than the winners of the Division 1 National, which is how we qualified last year. Now personally, I like the idea of having an international style rule match for this event to qualify. I think that the style of fishing should be the same. The timing, not so great. I mean, we were all in France when we found out. We'd heard whispers last year that they were talking about doing it, but we actually all thought that it wasn't going to happen and it might happen next year. And as a lot of you who are interested in that have probably seen, it was disappointing that it was left so late. Personally, like I say, I would have liked to have seen the venue as well mimic the venue that we're going to. So next year, apparently, it's the big rowing course with carp and bream in Hungary. I'd have loved to have seen a carpy, skimmery type water, something like Larford or Barston used. That would have been very appropriate for this. There's a stretch of the Trent that I've not fished myself around East Stoke that they're talking about using, so Lord knows what the fishing will be like there. So I can understand why a lot of people were frustrated. I am going to say, for anybody watching this, a couple of people mentioned that Barnsley and myself, because we've had involvement with the Angling Trust before, were influential in this decision. Let me assure you now, none of us knew anything about it. I was absolutely very, very disappointed that there was any talk of that, and it wasn't very nice at all for us, because obviously we're just working hard and trying to do the best we can at the fishing. I've run the Winter League for the last 2 years, as a lot of you know. I won't be running that anymore. I've decided to leave that post. Such was my disappointment that people would associate any work I do there with any other decisions, right or wrong, that come from the Angling Trust. So people out there who have decided to make those accusations, I think that's absolutely terrible myself. And those that have enjoyed the Winter League for the last 2 years, I'm sorry, but I won't stand for my team being brought into any sort of disrepute because of anything that people may say, just because I happen to run a different event completely separate from the one I have. So thank you for all the support on those matters, and those of you that have made those accusations, well, I'm sorry, but you've just lost a match organiser because of that, so it's a big shame. But that is how it is. I'd much rather concentrate on my fishing. I did want to say something about it. I felt it was very important because, like I say, I've always conducted myself in the most stand-up, straightforward manner, and I've always been very, very straight talking, and I've always said, whatever I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, please understand what I'm doing, and go from there. The fact that this event has come around with nothing to do with myself, I really don't like that at all. So I'd rather take myself out of the whole environment completely, and that's the way it is. So I'm sorry, guys, who have enjoyed the Winter League final the last couple of years, but it'll be going back in the Angling Trust hands now. So that's the way it is. Anyway, enough of that. Absolutely delighted, like I said. Thank you for all the support. I'm going to keep up with the blog. I've got loads coming up. We've got the Division 1 National. I've got some match this left, which I'm really looking forward to. Evesham Festival. And then I'm going to Ireland. Oh, loads. Absolutely loads. There'll be loads of blogs. Please, please keep watching. If you want to comment, share, and like this post, I really would appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel, because that's going to help me get more and more blogs up and there all the time. So catch you later. Thanks very much for watching.